Hi my salty pecans, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Pamela, and on today's video I'm actually going to be doing a 1-year update. Yes, an entire 365 days. Well, it's been more than 365 now from the day that I'm recording the video, but nevertheless it is a 1-year update in regards to my Monstera Albo. So this is the Monstera Albo that I am going to be giving you the 1-year update on. So if you're interested in just hearing what I have to say about this plant 365 days later, then keep on watching. So welcome back everyone. Okay, like mentioned, this Monstera Albo I have had for over a year. Last year for my 27th birthday, around my 27th birthday, one of my salty pecans, Hannah, decided to go ahead and gift me this beautiful plant, and in return I decided to name this plant after her. So thank you so much, Hannah, for being so kind, for gracing me, for just blessing me with such a beautiful plant. Again, this has always been a wishlist plant for me, but you know, of course, with the 2020 boom, recent plant prices, I am not one that would be able to just go ahead and get this plant in my collection, because I'm like, I'd rather put my money maybe towards, you know, investments or stocks. But anyways, thank you again, Hannah, for sharing Hannah with me. And since then, in 365 days, this plant, I believe, has grown, gosh, I think the original leaves were just this lower leaf and this one, and I believe this one grew in my home, and every other one has grown in my home since then. But I do notice that the fenestration, the older the leaves were, you know, the newer leaves that were coming in, the less and less the fenestration is. And I'm not too sure of that. I don't think it's in regards to lighting, because this plant is actually near a grow light, so it's not the lighting portion of it. Can you guys see me? Can you see me behind? Can you see me behind the plant? Oh, can you see me? Can you see me behind? Alright. Where's that jingle from? I always feel like somebody's watching me. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Yo, I get so distracted easily, but anyways, like I was saying, this plant has been losing fenestrations, and as you can see, the new leaves have no fenestrations at all. This one had one little sad fenestration, and this was looking more promising, but the new leaves have no fenestration, and it might be due to this plant probably needing a pole, a moss pole, maybe a plank, in order for it to have more stability for it to fenestrate. And I also had noticed that in the newest leaf, a new one is forming, so I think I seriously need to put this on a moss pole or a plank before the new leaf unfurls, so at least it can have some sort of hope to fenestrate. But again, I don't know 100% why this plant is not fenestrating. It is not water, it is not lighting. It gets the lighting that it wants because it's growing out new leaves. But yeah, that's a little sad, but that's okay. That's okay. I am so not ready to chop this plant up anytime soon, but I do feel like if I do keep getting immature foliage, I probably would just chop it up right here and just reroot this whole top growth and make this plant pot fuller. I do have another albo behind me right here, but this particular albo, Hannah, I would probably just make the plant pot fuller with the propagation. So what I have noticed though in regards to plant care in the last 365 days plus is that this plant actually does not mind the typical green, solid green albo care. There are no differences that I provide that albo and this albo. The green albo I really let dry way too much, and this one I try not to be very inconsistent with my watering, my care needs, because of course this plant has like a little softer spot in my heart and I don't want anything to happen to it. So I do water this plant like every week in a couple of days, depending on one, if I like have the memory to be like, oh shit, I have to water this plant, or the soil hasn't dried out enough for me to water it. Because if you know one thing about monsteras, you would know that monsteras have this ability to easily root rot, and root rot usually happens because your plant isn't sitting water, your plant is getting inconsistent water, so then when it does get watered it kind of goes into a shock. So yeah, root rot, I try to avoid that by letting this go a bit drier than staying moist. But again, I don't let this dry out like 100% fully, because it'll be too dry and it might just like shock the plant. So if you notice here, I have these brown tips. That came about early on, and that came about because of my inconsistency with watering, and the plant was just like, I don't like what you're doing, fix it right now. And I had to fix it. But since then I haven't gotten any more browning on the plant, which is really good. Really happy about that. I had this one crazy funky aerial root that was super long, and I decided to just stick it inside of the soil, and it's really grown, like it's really like stuck in here now, can't come out. Gosh, lighting wise, it has a grow light. It gets light from my grow light. You can't see it in the frame, but it's this GE light bulb, really cheap, affordable light bulb I got off of Amazon, not sponsored. I let this plant get some, you know, it gets sunlight from this northeast facing window, but it's pretty like back in the room. I would say this bed is maybe like 8 feet away from the light, and it's also in a corner, so it doesn't even get as direct light. Let's say if it was directly across from the window, it's across and down, so it doesn't get a crazy bit of sunlight, but it gets enough sunlight on top of the grow light to make this plant happy. I do find that it does grow towards the sun, towards the grow light versus the sunlight, so I know it's getting its nutrients from then. In regards to fertilization, I fertilize this plant when I fertilize my other plants. Sometimes it's not, you know, every watering, it's not every 2 waterings, so it's whenever, again, I'm like, oh shit, you know, let me fertilize my plants. So I can't really give the best fertilizing tips on growth wise, but fertilize your plants. They should do fine with what you give them. Sorry, I'm a little congested, so if you hear me sound stuffy or sniffly, then that is why. But other than that, I have this plant in the same original soil that I created. I will tag that video here. When I first repotted this plant up, I gave it well draining soil, and it's really happy with the soil that it's in. Yeah, so I think that is all the tips that I can give in regards to this plant. If you have any questions, do leave them down below, but I don't think there's any more that I can honestly share about this plant. It's really beautiful. It's one of my favorite plants. Like if someone says, oh, if you could grab, let's say, like a couple plants in case of whatever, what would you take? Definitely would take my Albo for sure. Definitely my Brogette Polynera, and definitely my Dieffenbachia. Those are like the 3 plants that I would take and go. They're so sentimental to me. They are just, well, not all of them are sentimental. Some of them are sentimental, and others are just, I love them, and that's all you need to know, right? So with that being said, my salty pecans, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. If you liked it, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up and sharing. Subscribe if you aren't already. Join this little kooky family because we're pretty awesome here. Become a salty pecan, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. And again, don't forget to follow me on my other social media platforms at HauzPlant, HauzPlant. So with that being said, I will see you on the next one. Let's get growing. Bye.